Original.
Hello, and welcome to Webcrawlers, a podcast where we do a deep dive into some of our favorite mysteries. Each week, we will introduce our topic, lay out our research and findings, reveal some conspiracy theories, and conclude with our own hypothesis. I'm Allie Siegel, and today we have very special guest host, Hannah Connor.
Hi.
Hannah, welcome. I'm so excited for this episode. Hannah, tell us where you're from, what you do, if you want, anything about yourself that you want our listeners to know.
Okay, so my name is Hannah and I live in Manchester in England.
Ooh.
I've lived in England for 20 years now, but I grew up in New Zealand, which is why I sound like this. I don't have a podcast or anything like that. I just
be careful. If you do a good job, you might.
I really like the story. Well, I don't really like it, but I think it's a fascinating story.
Captivated by it. Yes.
Captivated. I remember when it happened, and I feel like everybody should know about this bonkers thing.
Well, that being said, that's a perfect transition. Hannah, what is our episode going to be on today?
So this story is about the disappearance of Shannon Matthews. In the sleepy town of Dewsbury.
Ooh, let's get into it, as we say.
Okay, so I'm going to read from my bit of paper because, as I said to you before, a little bit nervous, but
that's
fine.
Totally okay. Melissa, you should have heard Melissa in my first episode. Like, we read verbatim from, and I don't think we took spaces to breathe or we paused for periods. We didn't enunciate words. We were just like reading so flatly from a script. It's amazing. I'm gonna back on it.
I'm going to also do my best BBC voice so that
perfect.
You can all understand me properly. Okay, so on the 19th of February 2008, Shannon Louise Matthews, a 9-year-old girl, was reported missing in Dewsbury, West Yorkshire in England. So for context, description of where Dewsbury is. Dewsbury is a historic town in West Yorkshire, in like the north of England, and that's probably quite an important part because the north is a bit of a north-south divide, if you know anything about British politics, I suppose. The north are rougher and the south are posh, basically. It was a major mill town in the mid-19th century, and growth increased, but after World War II, it experienced a big decline, frequently being referred to as a troubled town. Some areas of the town are classed as the most deprived in the UK. It got notoriety between 1978 and 1980, as it was in the spotlight when Peter Sutcliffe, known as the Yorkshire Ripper, murdered 13 women and attempted to murder 7 more.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Do you know that story?
No, but that's going to be the next episode I do. The Yorkshire Ripper. Oh my God.
I have a feeling there's a Netflix documentary about it.
Good, because I can only learn through documentaries. Also, you mentioned when you said that one side is the north side is rougher and then the other side is posh. I spent a few weeks once in Hyde Park, and I met. This is like when I used to be a pretty heavy drinker, and I was out one night alone, and I met a DJ who lived in the north side, and he kept saying to me, "Oh, you're proper posh, aren't you?" And I had no idea what that meant. And then I went home with him. Whoops. And we had a one night stand, and he lived in the north side. And I remember, like, he said he like knew Amy Winehouse, or like this was like way back then. And like, I think his roommate was like a heroin addict. So I don't know if that has to do. Is there drugs on the north side?
I think that you're talking about London, but this is the entire country is what I'm talking about. But I think that there is also that split.
Okay, guys. So basically what you could take from that is I used to be slutty and now I'm not anymore. All right, continue with your episode. and I am talking about London.
London, yeah. That's
perfect.
That's cool. I know.
Glad I interjected.
So Shannon was reported missing by her mother when she failed to return home from school. Oof. She had gone on a swimming trip with her class that day, and after getting off the bus with the other students, she was assumed to have walked home. But she never got home, and Karen Matthews called the police at 6:48 p.m. that evening, which I have a 9-year-old. If my child wasn't hurt, was 6:48. It's pretty late to be calling the police.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
5 minutes later, I would be freaking out.
Yeah, like 3:30. Yeah. But anyway, she calls the police. She says her daughter's missing. The next day, the police announced that they have started a massive search as the officers have concerns for the missing girl. Her mother makes a plea for her return, and posters featuring Shannon's pictures are put all around the neighborhood. So the other thing that I somehow left off my description of Dewsbury was that it is it's largely like a council estate. So there's lots of council estates, which means there's people who are housed. But in the same sense, there's like a massive sense of community within those housing estates. So police suggest that she may have run away from home, but her family say that this would be completely out of character. So the way Shannon's family, I think this is probably a good way to introduce the characters, shall we say?
Okay.
So this is Shannon's family and who's where and the whole thing. Shannon lives with her mum, Karen Matthews, who is 32, and her mum's boyfriend, Craig Meehan. Shannon's real father is Leon Rose, who lives 10 miles away in Huddersfield. Do you use miles or kilometers?
Miles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I don't really know either, so it's fine.
For those of you who prefer kilometers, it's 16 kilometers.
Okay.
When Karen and Leon were together, so Shannon's mum and dad, they had 2 children, Shannon and her older brother, but her older brother lives with his father in Huddersfield. So when Karen and Leon, when they split up, they decided to split the kids as well. So Shannon went with her mum. The brother lives with her dad. And Shannon had been seeing her dad on a fairly regular basis up until recently, but then Karen and Leon started having falling out, apparently due talking about money and money that dads have to pay. It's called maintenance. And they'd fallen out over that, so she wasn't going up there as much anymore. So Karen also has 7 children to 5 different fathers.
Oh, boy.
Yep, she's a character.
Yeah.
And of the 7 children, 4 of them live with her, and 3 live elsewhere.
Interesting.
Also in the house with Karen and Shannon is Craig, as I said before, Craig Meehan. He's been living with them for 4 years, and he is Shannon's youngest sibling. Shannon's youngest sibling is his child.
Okay.
And he is 22, which is 10 years younger than Karen.
I already don't trust it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't trust it.
He also comes from a large family, and it has been reported that he has 9 aunts and uncles. This is where I've written that they live on a council housing estate. Okay. You know, I'd made a mention of it somewhere.
Yeah, trust yourself.
Yeah. I knew what I did. So that is like that's the family. That sets the scene. Karen has not lived with her parents since she was 15. She also had loads of siblings. Her parents don't trust Craig either. So her parents are with you.
Yeah.
But she's been out on her own, basically having to live her own life since she was 15, and she's been just having kids by the sounds of it. Right, so back to Shannon. It's the 21st of February. February.
Sorry, how many kids did you say she had?
7.
7. God, so she's spent like a huge part of her life like pregnant, in like her adult life pregnant.
Yeah.
God, Jesus. Okay.
So she's gone. She is reported missing on the 19th. On the 21st, so she's been missing for 2 days. 200 officers have joined the hunt for Shannon. Bearing in mind this is February, so February in the north of England is freezing cold. The major concern was that one of the nights was the temperature was due to drop to -4.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, so they're out there. Everybody's out there looking. The police are out looking. All the community are out looking. They're doing that, that you see in the films where everybody's standing shoulder to shoulder, walking around the fields and everything. They're all pitching in. But obviously, by the second day that she's been missing, 70 missing reports after 72 hours are like crucial because they're sort of after 24 hours, and they may return, they may have run away, they may come back. 72 hours usually means like if horrible to say, but it's likely that they won't be found alive.
Yeah, something's happened.
Yeah. On the 22nd of February, the police decide that they're going to search the Matthews house. So Karen's house is going to get searched. The boyfriend's cagey about it. He wants to know why they're being, he's like, oh, why are you accusing us? But the police assure them, it's formality. But they find written on her wall in Shannon's room, I want to live with my dad.
Oh, God.
So the police say they're gravely concerned for her safety. The police also find the house to be chaotic and dirty.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Shannon's not with her father. Her father's contacted. Well, he's already been contacted. She's not with her dad. Oh. Her dad is devastated. He comes from Huddersfield to Dewsbury, and he helps out with the search, and he stands by Karen and her boyfriend, and he's there, but like being a fairly decent guy. When Karen's parents accuse Craig Meehan, the boyfriend, of being abusive towards Karen's kids. The dad stands up for Craig and says that's not true.
Oh, wow.
He just wants to be there for his daughter.
Yeah.
So at this point, police have also drawn up a list of all her family members in the area, all Shannon's family members in the area. So this includes all the aunties and uncles.
There's a lot of people.
It seems like. There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's there was a little diagram on one of the BBC articles, and
it's like a big family tree.
Wow, like nothing I've ever seen
forest.
Before.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they want to look into all the family connections. At the same time, they search 3,000 houses in the Dewsbury area, and they speak to 6,000 people in total. So by February the 26th, this is 7 days of Shannon she's still not been found. Police are concerned she may have fallen into the wrong hands. And by this point, the whole town is fully rallying around. The Matthews family are all wearing T-shirts that say, "Find Shannon Matthews." Everybody's wearing them all over the shop. Posters are everywhere. Like the town, it's amazing. It's pretty amazing.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
By the 1st of March, this is 10 days. It's also the day before Mother's Day, British Mother's Day.
Yeah.
We have a different Mother's Day to the States and also to New Zealand. Karen makes a plea via the media, despite being strongly advised not to by the police. So the police basically say that if she's, for the best interest for Shannon's safety, not to make a statement, but she does anyway. And the Sun, which is, I don't know if you know about the Sun, the newspaper. It is one of the worst tabloid newspapers known to mankind.
Yeah.
Offers a £20,000 reward, and a local furniture shop also offered up another $5,000.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So this Dewsbury seems like it's got a bad rep, but they seem like pretty decent people.
It's a community, yeah.
Absolutely. So this disappearance comes only 9 months after another huge profile case, that of Madeleine McCann. And the disparity between the coverage is noted, and that opens a big discussion of class and stature. So obviously the McCanns are given loads of airtime. They are also given like reward money of above £1 million.
Oh my gosh.
But they are a middle class family of doctors, and Karen has 7 children. So that is brought into discussion quite a lot, you know, throughout in articles and that kind of thing. And also like the people of Dewsbury are really feeling that. So not long after this, the Disgusting Son raises the reward money to £50,000. But throughout this whole time, Shannon's mother, Karen, has been odd. The things that she's been saying have been strange. She's been publicly insisting that someone knows something, or that she has been taken. She never says like that she's disappeared. She, right from the get-go, she's saying she's been abducted.
That's weird.
Yeah, right. And so when like I said before, when she was told in no uncertain terms to let the police deal with the press, she just did it anyway.
Yeah.
Karen has a friend called Natalie. She pops up a little bit. She's an interesting person. She said that the second press interview that Karen did, she held onto a teddy while making a plea for her beautiful princess daughter to come home. But Natalie also said, when she asked Karen if the teddy was Sharon's, she said she didn't know. She didn't know who the teddy was.
What?
She was just holding it like a prop. Like when you see the video of her talking, it's like a full-on prop. And she's also baffled by the beautiful princess daughter line, because she's never heard her refer to her daughter as that. She's like someone told her to say that.
Oh, that's so weird.
There's also at this time a documentary being filmed in their house. So they were also told not to go out and look for Shannon. Karen and Craig are at home, but they have for some reason allowed a Channel 4 documentary to come in. I watched some of it this morning.
Oh my gosh.
And it aired on March the 20th. So where we're at the story hasn't gone to like been on TV yet, but it aired on TV, and it's just them. And
wow, we'll have to link to that.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. It's baffling. But she's really like in the bit that I watched, one of the reporters is saying, "Oh, can I get a picture with your other daughter holding the teddy that she was holding in the press conference?" And she's like, "No, nobody can touch that. Nobody can touch that until Shannon gets home." But then Natalie's saying that she didn't even know if it was hers or not.
It's very like performative.
Very performative. So that's a thing that Natalie notes as well.
Yeah.
So there's a massive difference in her appearance between the first time she appeared on the news. So she's like bedraggled in the first time, but then every other time now she's just like, she's fine. She's just getting on with life. And obviously this documentary has been filmed. And so Karen's got this performance to keep up. Natalie says that when the cameras weren't around, the tears are off, and she's just playing video games, watching TV, just doing the normal things.
This reminds me of like Ben Affleck in Gone Girl or something, you know?
Yeah, but and I suppose as well, because then there's that, you know, people like Natalie, and she has a police liaison officer as well, and they're sort of saying, well, maybe, you know, this is how different people would deal with grief in different ways. Like, is this who's to say what is normal? Who's to say what is the correct way to act in this situation?
It's true.
But the officer, the police liaison officer, says that she had an inkling, and she says that there's something not right with this woman at one point. And at one point she's smiling and laughing when all the TV crew were not around.
Oh, God.
The 14th of March, the police get a tip-off around this time. All the family they had talked to, so all the information that they gathered from this big list and this big bonkers family tree, they'd investigated quite a number of them individually, and all the people that they had has come back as having alibis. Everything's fine, everything checks out. And there's one man who wasn't on the list. They knew he wasn't on the list, but he was right down the bottom of the list. But this man is an uncle of Karen's boyfriend, and his name is Michael Donovan. And he lives on the same estate, and he is someone, according to the neighbours, who was regularly at the Matthews flat, almost on a day. However, he hasn't been to the Matthews household the whole time that Shannon has been missing.
That's suspicious.
Mm-hmm. But wait, one of the other members of the Meehan's extensive family bumps into him and says to him, asked him if he's been interviewed by the police, like everybody else. Donovan says he has not, but he also says that he shouldn't mention this other guy. Do not mention my name to the police. So obviously this guy goes to the police.
Yeah. That's the first thing I would do if someone said, don't mention me to the police. I would go straight to the police.
Absolutely. Little background on Donovan. Michael Donovan. He was born with the name Paul Drake, but this is I heard a couple of different things and read a couple of different things about him. He changed his name to Michael Donovan, and there are a couple of theories about why he changed his name to Michael Donovan, each of which are as baffling as the other one. The first one is that he changed his name to Michael Donovan after the character in the sci-fi series V. Which, I was
gonna say, where have I heard this name before? Like, why is it familiar to me? That's so weird.
But then I also heard that he changed it to Donovan after the 80s heartthrob Jason Donovan. And I don't know if you know who he is, but all your Australian listeners definitely will. Kylie and Jason. God. Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan had a couple of hit singles. They were also on Neighbours, the absolutely long-standing, amazing TV soap opera from Australia. Either way, weird.
Yeah, guy. That's so bizarre.
He has also previously been arrested for kidnapping his own daughter.
Red flag.
Mm-hmm. So him and his ex-wife, they had two daughters, and they were in care. And then one day he turned up at school, picked one of them up, and just took off with them. Oof. When obviously that wasn't his place. He was arrested, but the charges were dropped. So this is March 14th. When all this starts to happen, which is nearly a month of Shannon being missing. So she went missing on the night. Well, maybe not, because February is a weird month, isn't it? But around, let's say 5 weeks, 3 weeks. Let's say 3 weeks. She's been missing for 3 weeks, which is a really long time.
Yeah.
So the police are immediately suspicious. And they go around to Michael Donovan's house, but no one answers. But they did the big police bash, and one of his neighbors pops her head out the door, and she lives down underneath the apartment underneath, and says, well, if his car's here, then he's definitely going to be here. But she also says that now that she thinks about it, she's definitely heard additional footsteps in the flat above, footsteps that sounded like a toddler.
Ooh.
And she's also heard them when Michael wasn't home. And so they're like, okay. And they bashed down the door. But the flat is empty. And they're about to they're looking around, they're about to give up. But then they smell fresh cigarette smoke in the room. So they're like, there's definitely somebody has made a quick escape here or is still in here. And then they see another door. So they go through that into an empty room. All that's in it is a bed. And then they hear a voice that says something like, you're hurting me, coming from under the bed. So they look under and they find Shannon in the frame of a divan bed. I think that does a box spring bed make more sense than a divan bed?
Yeah, we say box spring, but yeah. Oh my gosh.
So inside,
oh my gosh.
That's it's not. I think that they had pulled the drawers. There's drawers out, and she was inside there.
Jesus.
They pull Shannon out and take her out to the police car. And she seems like distressed, but she's also okay. And then they say to her, "Where is Michael?" And she says, "He was under the bed with me." And so they put Shannon into the car and dash back in, and Michael is under the where the second drawer would have been. He's under there. They're pulling him out. He's kicking up a fight, but they finally arrest him and they get him into the police car.
Jeez, it's crazy,
bizarre. And as he's in the car, as he's getting pushed in the car, he starts shouting and he says, "Get Karen down here. We got a plan. We're sharing the money, £50,000.
No.
Yep. So once they get him down to the police station, he says to them that they need to arrest Karen. So Meehan is in police custody. Back to Karen, who is pretty unemotional when they tell her that Shannon has been found. They take her to the police station to see her, but she's told that she can only see her from behind a screen for forensic purposes. And Karen is silent in the car, doesn't ask a single question about Shannon's well-being. And the police and her police liaison officer, yet again, is like, this is odd. This is really odd. But also they don't know about what my Meehan has shouted out. So police, Shannon is placed in police custody for 72 hours, which is a normal thing to happen.
Yeah.
Even more normal in this circumstance. But when the news of Shannon being found gets back to the Moorside estate where they all lived, they are absolutely ecstatic. Just partying in the streets. People are just like, the fact that she's been found this long after, and she's alive. Everybody is just relieved and super happy. Everybody, that is, except for Karen. So also not forgetting that there's been TV crews there for the whole time. So there are still TV crews there. So, Karen's face is being broadcast across the country.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it's definitely not a face that someone who has had their daughter back. And it's kind of, it's telling. And
if you haven't seen your daughter for a month and she's finally found in your boyfriend's, uncle's or something's house, I would be like so relieved, but also so angry. Like I would be a million different things at once. Like to be nonchalant is very telling.
And to look worried as well, eh?
Yeah.
Like that's concerning. Like you're concerned, like something's not quite gone to plan. But she didn't know. So she didn't know that the police had told her that she didn't know that Michael had told the police about their plan. She doesn't know really anything that Michael said. So, but that again prompts the police to think, well, this is what she looks like. She doesn't know what Michael said.
Yeah.
She's definitely, something's going on. Okay. So Donovan in police custody. I keep wanting to call him Jason Donovan now.
Yeah. That's funny.
Michael Donovan confesses the next day to taking Shannon, but he says it was Karen's idea and he didn't want to. The Karen's plan all along was that he would keep Shannon for a few days and then claim the reward money and split it. And if it didn't go along with the plan, she would have him killed. They search Donovan's flat, and in Donovan's flat they find a cord that has been tied to a rafter of his flat that had also been tied around Shannon's midriff when he was out. So it was long enough for her to go out of the room and go into the bathroom. And there was also, they also found a piece of paper with rules for Shannon, stating that she could play computer games quietly, but not watch TV, and that she had to be quiet and stay under the divan bed. Oh, so after the standard 72 hours, because of Meehan's claims of Karen being in on it, Shannon was taken into care, which obviously got the community talking. Rumors are flying about that Karen and Craig had something to do with the whole thing. Karen was then taken in for questioning, and that's when she was told about Donovan's claims, to which she denied everything. And she was then released because they had no evidence to hold her, really, like, other than what Donovan had said and their major suspicions. But I think at this point they were like, we'll just, she's gonna slip up. So 2 weeks after this, while Shannon is still in care, while Donovan is in custody, another arrest is made. Oh. But it's not Karen, and it's not directly to do with the case. But during the earliest search of the Matthews house, way back in the beginning, 2 computers had been taken to see if there was anything on them that could shine a light on where Shannon was. However, when the computers were processed, more than 130 images of child sexual abuse were found. And they were Meehan's computers, and he was arrested and charged. Meehan was Craig Meehan, the boyfriend. But it did say that none of the images, not that this makes it any better, but none of the images were in any of the children in the house.
I'm sure he did stuff to the children, though. There had to be a reason why Shannon wanted to go live with her dad,
Yeah.
Unless they planted that writing,
Yeah, I suppose that's I never thought about that. It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
There was counts of them having had an argument, because in the press, like, Karen had made out that they were absolutely fine. They had this. She went off to school. Everything was happy, but that wasn't the case at all. And the people had said this afterwards, is they'd had a massive row the night before, Craig and Shannon, and she had left, after having an argument then in the morning with Karen, and not left on good terms at all.
Interesting.
So a week after the arrest, Shannon and Karen have a visit. So Karen goes to visit Sharon in care, and Karen is encouraged to play with Shannon, but the police liaison officer said that Karen seemed bored. She's just constantly looking at the clock, which is, this is 3 weeks after she's been found. It's nearly 6 weeks after she first went missing. This behavior is odd. Excuse me. And nothing like the whole teddy bear situation.
Yeah.
Nothing like, no, not the mother that she painted herself, with the princess daughter and everything. And obviously that's when these other stories start coming and trickling through. And more of Craig's family were arrested for assisting Donovan, but they all got released and never brought to trial. As other sort of rumors are flying around, like, we said before that Dewsbury's a small town. This is a little community, people chat. There was talk of Karen not being happy in her relationship with Craig either, and that she wanted to leave Craig for Donovan. And that he was supposed to pick Karen up, and then they were going to live a happy life together.
Interesting. Webcrawlers has a Patreon. To get access to bonus episodes, shout-outs, merchandise discounts, and more, please go to patreon.com/webcrawlers. You can donate as little as $2 a month to become one of our bimbo patrons. Also, if you are a patron, you have the chance to host or guest host your own episode. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. If you give us a 5-star review, we will shout you out on the podcast. Also, Erios has a hotline, 626-604-6262. Yeah. Thank you. It's really been popping off, and we've been getting tons of messages so far, and please keep them coming. We will play them in our eventual mailbag episodes.
The friend Natalie, she was still not feeling great about how it all panned out. She'd been in, this was before Shannon had been found. Karen had come around to her house. She was making her a brew. And their daughter, Natalie's daughter, was there, and she was talking about like when she was going to come home. And Natalie just she said, look, there's a chance that she might not come home. And she wanted to bring that into the conversation so that, to prepare, basically to be prepared for the worst. And she said that she was sort of saying it to her daughter, but at the same time, she wanted for Karen to hear it, because obviously there's all this pressure and all this publicity and everything from the media that you could get swept up with that whole thing of she's going to be found. Everybody's looking for her, so she's going to be found, and she was sort of just trying to give her a bit of bring her a bit of reality, but in it, in a kind and a way that a friend would. But apparently Karen was just like, oh no, Shannon's famous now. She's been on TV. She's coming home. Don't worry about it. She's coming home. So because of conversations like that, like little niggly things like that, and Natalie was just like, it's not right.
Something's off.
Something's super off. And she's also been chatting with her friend, another woman called Julie, who was like a big driving force, like really, really like another really lovely woman who was really wanted to help Karen and get get public attention on it when it started to dwindle a little bit. She was like, no, come on, we need this. We need people to stop, not, to continue with this effort, like to remember who Shannon is until we find out what's happened to her. Yeah. Julie and Karen had been chatting, and they were both pretty convinced that something was afoot. So they decided to confront Karen. Before they did this, they spoke to the family's police liaison officer, who, as I said before, she had also voiced concerns. So they decided, right, yeah, we're going to have a chat. So they invited Karen to get into the police officer's car. And they said, and then all three of them, and these are like some great quotes from Natalie. Natalie said, I said, look, Karen, I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's a lot of stuff I've seen you do and say, and none of it adds up to me. I know there's something going on.
Oh my God.
I wish I could do a really great Yorkshire accent, but I can't. Matthews took a massive sigh and said, yeah, it's true. 2 days later, she was arrested.
Oh my God.
For perverting the course of justice. And on that same day, Michael Donovan tried to take his own life. However, he made a full recovery. So after this, all of the children living with Karen were taken into care.
Oh, thank God.
But down at the police station, Matthews and Donovan have been giving completely contradictory reports of what happened, constantly blaming each other, painting each other as the mastermind. Yeah, just trying to obviously sell each other out. Karen apparently gave 5 different counts of what happened, but Michael's, when she was questioned in court during the hearing, was a totally different story to every single other one that she had told her lawyer. But Michael's account had stayed the same. And his account was that he would take Shannon to his house and keep her there until there was a reward. When the £2,000 reward was offered, Karen said to wait until it went up. Once it hit 50,000, Michael would take Shannon to the market, like the local town market, leave her there, then make sure she was somewhere where there was CCTV, and then he would conveniently find her again in front of that so that they'd know that he was the one that found her, and then they'd get the reward.
Also, that's like so obvious. Like if your child goes missing and then they're found by someone in your family, like, I don't know, that just feels like an obvious plan to get reward money. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't. I know exactly. It does, doesn't it?
It's like setting your own house on fire to get the insurance money. Like, it just feels very obvious.
Yes, exactly. It really does. And I mean, obviously they didn't get away with it because that's how obvious it was.
Right.
After, well, as you know, during the whole hearing and the trial, the court heard as well how there was a toxicology report, and in the toxicology report they found traces of like, you know, in their hair you can do a drug test, and they found traces of temazepam in Shannon's hair.
It's like a sleeping pill or something, right?
It is a sleeping pill, yeah. And because of the toxicology, because of the hair and how long it can keep things in your system, it was like it'd been in their system for up to 20 months. Her teachers she'd been known to social services. Her whole family had been known to social services for a while. And they said that Shannon was always like sleepy in school and always dirty, and she was never really looked after. The parents of Karen's parents had said as well that like they'd never got them nappies or diapers. That they'd just see the little kids just running around with cloths wrapped around, like so rags wrapped around them. So they were known to social services, but then eventually social services had said, no, this is not a bad case. And so they were like off the records, which is mental.
Yeah. I like feel bad, like on both counts, because obviously that's so horrendous, and like social services should have handled it immediately, but also like social services is probably so overloaded. Like I can't even imagine what it's like being a social worker. Like, it must be the most difficult job in the world.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I imagine somebody like Karen Matthews is pretty good at playing it out like everything's fine. Totally. Everything's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Like it was a bad week financially, like everything's going to be fine next week, you know, or something like that.
But things are a bit messy, but what are you going to do? There's so many kids here. But she just definitely was out for herself ultimately. Totally. She got sentenced, her and Donovan, they both got sentenced to 8 years. Shannon got a whole new identity, a whole new family.
Oh, that's good.
And she like is like under, I don't know, police protection, but to the point she won't have this, hopefully have to like deal with it. Sort of like if she had have not been fake kidnapped, she would still be living with her awful mum.
I was going to say, like, it's kind of a blessing in disguise that they had to hit this kind of bottom to be noticed, you know? Yeah. But I mean, it shouldn't have to get to this point. That like you have to kidnap they have to do a fake kidnapping order for social services to be like, oh, this situation is bad, you know?
Absolutely. But yeah. So that's, so all the other kids are in care as well. They've all got different identities now.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully they are living wonderful lives.
Yeah. Wow.
Karen is out of jail. She only served half of her sentence. Then she moved down south. But she still does interviews. Or she did an interview in 2018 and still claimed she was innocent. But then I think that she like got some shit and has like tried to completely change her identity.
She needs to take some accountability for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who harms children is a shithead in my book. Irredeemable in my book. God, I feel like Craig should have gotten more than 8 years due to the wait, did Craig get any sentencing?
He did get sentencing.
Because I mean, he should have gotten some sentencing for that child pornography, I would hope.
He was definitely arrested and he definitely went to court. I don't know.
We'll have to look into that because I mean, I also am upset that they only got 8 years. Like, I feel like they should have gotten more than that.
It definitely feels like 8 years, and then to only do half of that, it's not.
Yeah, 4 years for child endangerment and stuff. All that stuff is not.
So giving your child sleeping pills, like dosing your child for nearly 2 years, that's so horrible. What a horrible, like.
Yeah, geez. This is awful. Well, thank you for bringing this story to our attention. We definitely need more international stories. So if you are an international listener, please write in and tell us some stuff that we should do. Also, if you're a social worker, I'd be curious to know about, I mean, obviously I know there's a million struggles, but like some of the logistics about how something like this might have happened or slipped through the cracks, how stuff like this can be prevented, and some logistical struggles that you might have to go through, that prevent you from kind of like rehoming children. Because I know that there's a real pressure to keep like families together.
And I mean, I definitely know in this country that the funding is just not there.
Well, same. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, this was super, super interesting. Hannah, is there anywhere that people can follow you online or on the Discord if you want to be followed? Otherwise, they can just listen to this episode over and over and over again.
I am on the Discord. I'm Hannah Connor on the Discord.
Perfect.
I mean, you can follow my Instagram, but it's really not very interesting.
Perfect. That's a great plug. All right. Well, follow Hannah on the Discord. Anyways, Hannah, thank you so much for doing this. I really, really appreciate it. And we are the Web Crawlers, and keep on listening. Thank you.
An Erios original.
Powered by Acast.